It's Friday, Feedback Friday, the feedbackiest day of the week. Ha! It's Feedback Friday. Long week, but I got the Zelda video out. All right. I'm going to focus on the feedback there as well as some Manly Monday stuff. I'm going to flip a coin in my head about which one to tackle first. I've decided I'm going to do Manly Monday first. A lot of okay, um, this all makes sense. Though I want to read. It's Bobby Calloway. But he said, read this on another place the other day, and it's a message I wish a lot of my romance-obsessed peers would internalize. No offense, but I think a lot of us, including, don't actually want romantic love as badly as we think, and really are just lonely and crave a closeness and intimacy that feels out of reach in friendships because of society's emphasis on marriage and the nuclear family. So we project that into the never-ending search for a perfect love and a soulmate when really we all just want to mean something to someone. And Bobby Calloway means a great deal to me. He's the guy on Two Women Talking to a Man. And Bobby's a person I feel very, very blessed to know. So the fact that he made that comment, yeah. I remember in my first year university, a professor, we were studying Tristan and Isolde. And this professor talked about the difference between romantic love and platonic love. And how, his argument was romantic love doesn't last, platonic love does. And I thought he was so wrong at the time. And the older I get, the more it's like, shit, he wasn't wrong. There is a point in romantic relationships where if there is no friendship there, the relationship is not going to last because there's times where things aren't working and you don't even really like each other. You have to remember why you're together. And there are also times where your partner needs you to be there for them. They need you to be the strong one. And if you don't have friends that you can rely on, you're not going to be able to do that. It's going to be too much. And it's going to feel very, very lonely. You need both. I don't actually think you need a romantic partner. You don't. You do need friends. One person certainly shouldn't be everything to you. That's frankly the sign of a codependency, but I don't want to steal the thunder of Song and I want to do Two Women Talking on Toxic Romances. So that came up on the Discord. I forgot to do the help support this channel. Let me do the help support this channel. Where is it? Shit. There it is. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for somebody who can use a pan for it. Coffee.com/LeannaK, or the GoFundMe. I may be closing the GoFundMe and shifting to just the groups. I'm not sure, because we've done some tests with the groups and there don't seem to be that many people interested in strictly men's groups. Men's issues, yes, but not many people seem interested in it being men only. They prefer it when there's women and non-binary people there too. I did not expect this. I think it's really good. So, as is with everything I do, I listen, hence Feedback Friday, and I shift accordingly. That's a nice problem to have. as far as I'm concerned. So I may shutter that because you can't edit GoFundMe's once they go live. I did not know that. I've never done a GoFundMe before. Um, so I may shutter that GoFundMe and start another one that more accurately reflects how the project has evolved. So interesting, not sure yet, but telegraphing here because there are people that love to say I rip off charities and I rip off GoFundMe. Thanks, Stalker Chan. But I'm telling you this now so it's completely transparent and no one goes, oh my God, what happened when they see a change? It's just all of this stuff we're doing is an experiment. We are stepping into the environmental, the social sphere of the biopsychosocial mental health model. And there isn't a lot of stuff on how to do this. There's tons on therapy. There's tons on biology, even though, people still don't totally understand why antidepressants work, how they work. But the basics, but why it affects it, we don't know. But that environmental element, I got into the work I do because that's the part that has the least attention. And that was the stuff I desperately needed in trauma therapy. And I've been inviting a fair number of people to the Discord that I see on Twitter. And, they message me and say, oh my God, I can't take Twitter anymore. And it's like, come on the Discord. All of the hot take topics are channeled into one channel. If you just want to look at cat pictures or you just want to talk about video games, that's it. You are not forced to see shit about Israel and Gaza all the time. And oh God, have I been glad that's there myself. More and more, the Discord is the first thing I check every day. I'm getting better at looking. It's a habit change. It takes time. But okay, on to the Zelda video. I'm probably going to have time for only 2 comments. I don't know. But I want to address a criticism where people keep challenging me on the definition I set for the video. And I find this very interesting that that's the pushback. And one comment says, coming from the fairy tale sphere, your definition of a damsel in distress is too narrow and leaves out most fairy tale examples. Sleeping Beauty might be cursed, but she's in no immediate danger beyond that. She doesn't even have to worry about eating, drinking, or using the bathroom. Rapunzel is confined to her tower, but the witch has no interest in harming her. Numerous Russian fairy tales of a princess that's being held in a castle by a dangerous sorcerer, but she's almost in never any danger beyond her captor hoping to convince her to marry him. In my mind, these are all danger. If someone's movements are limited, that's coercive control. That's abuse. When someone is cursed, they are imperiled. This idea that as long as someone is alive and not being physically beaten, that is, I work with people every day where their physical scars have, they might have scars, but it's healed. But the emotional scars run so much deeper. The idea that a princess who is cursed and therefore completely vulnerable, cursed, is not imperiled. That's very interesting. And the definition they challenged is a damsel in distress is a female character that's put into immediate danger, afraid for her safety, life, and virtue in order to put the story in motion. A curse is immediate danger. It must be a definition of exclusion. The inherent innocence or helplessness of the damsel in question must be the plot motivator, not knowledge, special powers, or abilities she has. Otherwise, the label reduces the female character to her gender and is therefore sexist. You know, if someone is cursed and unable to protect themselves or run away from danger, that is their safety in peril. If someone, I mean, I can add safety, freedom, or safety, freedom, life, and virtue. I mean, fine, freedom, fine. But when someone is unconscious, they are vulnerable. And, you know, you don't see stories of a guy being rendered unconscious and just put there, except in Baldur's Gate 3. And I will be talking about Baldur's Gate 3 next week. But, okay, I can add freedom to the definition. But, you know, no, it, to me, somebody being cursed is immediate danger. And this idea, and this is where the whole benevolent sexism comes in. The idea that if somebody's physical needs are met, what are you complaining about? Especially when it comes to women. That is the whole argument behind the public sphere is too dangerous for women. Women are better off kept behind closed doors where it's safe. And this is where I do deviate. Certainly from any other video game feminist I know, but a lot of feminists in general, is I refuse to hold feminist theory that infantilizes women, to treat women like children who can have babies. Children having children is not good. And so many of our protect women frameworks focus so much on keeping women safe and treating men as predators that neither is fulfilled. Everybody is just existing, not living. And the non-binary people are like, where the fuck do I fit? So yeah, I feel very strongly about that. And this is where my analysis differs. I will define my terms so somebody can challenge them. I don't say, well, that's sexually objectifying, and don't back it up. So, you know, yeah, I can add freedom. I have no problem with that. I do challenge the idea that a curse or imprisonment is not endangering someone. That is immediate peril. If someone has their life, liberty, or pursuit of happiness taken away, that's immediate peril. And I do think that too many women are like, what are you complaining about? You're taken care of. A fully actualized person doesn't want to be taken care of. They want to take care of themselves. And when we analyze female characters, this is the mistake that gets made again and again and again and again. If someone is an adult only biologically and not in terms of, are they able to control where their life is going to an extent, that this is why I have this issue of what is a woman, an adult human female? Well, when the world starts treating women like actual fucking adults, I might accept that definition. But right now, they fucking don't, because women get all these passes on bad behavior that men are crucified for. And I feel very strongly about this. I do, but I am not angry. I'm doing this for emphasis. Passion is not anger. All right, moving on to another comment that I just loved this comment because I am one of these people who loves it when someone info dumps. When someone is so excited by my video, they like totally info dump. I am like, We have forged a connection. I love this. So, because it is a good point. It does clarify a point that I was not clear on, and this is one of the challenges of summary, in that trying to distill it so every video is not 2 hours long. Sometimes I overdo the heuristics, and this person who clearly loves The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess as much as I do caught me on it. So here we go. I love this game for so many, or these videos are always so much fun. Thank you for continuing them. I love this game for so many reasons, and concerning Zelda herself, more so than perhaps any other game, this is the game of Zelda as the leader. Every moment we see her in this game is a moment showing that she was in charge and will not shy away from that responsibility. For example, I think you corrected yourself later, but it's an important point that I want to emphasize. In this game, Zelda grants herself the light arrows. More specifically, she calls upon the higher spirits in Hyrule and asks them to grant the light arrows to her. Link never uses them. And yeah, that was me treating Link as the player proxy, so the controllable, and in my brain, game designer thing, the avatar shoots in that moment. And so the playable character becomes this Link and Zelda hybrid, but good catch. Fair. Because, I did talk about Zelda being an active participant in the horseback battle. This emphasized a couple of important things, including Zelda's direct connection to the divine. Very important. As well as her wisdom in that she could give Link the arrows before, as she did in Ocarina, but in this moment decided it was better for her to have them so she and Link can fight together. Another major point is that the story brings forward the truth that Hyrule is not a perfect fairy tale kingdom whose leaders always know what they're doing. The inciting event that caused the entire story was Hyrule's fabled sages trying to dispose of Ganondorf, failing misery, and in full panic mode sending him to the Twilight Realm in the classic gather up all of your garbage and throw it over the neighbor's fence move. So the Twilight and Midna's misery are a direct result of Hyrule leaders shirking their responsibility. And I'm glad I get to read this comment because I could not figure out how to include that in a character study of Princess Zelda, but that's all accurate. They go on to say, was this Zelda's fault? No, in fact, if my timeline knowledge is correct, this may have happened a century or two before the current Zelda was born. Correct. But in the highest mortal power in the kingdom, she never denies her kingdom's misdeeds, nor makes excuses for herself and now having to face them. Zelda for president, please. And that's why I included the detail on Emperor Showa Hirohito while he was alive, because that idea of the emperor or the princess being the embodiment of the government of the kingdom, being the living steward of the kingdom, the buck stops with her. And this is why, how do you say this character is a damsel in distress? She is taking so much responsibility for what happened. The whole idea of innocence is central to the idea of the shorthand of the damsel in distress, is she cannot be blameless. But I'm going to hold that to what's the problem with the damsel in distress video. Okay. As an aside note, anyone who loves Twilight Princess, I heartily recommend you read the official manga adaptation that finally concluded within the past year. People have been recommending this manga to me. I really do need to read it. The problem is I keep having adulting. I have to buy tires. I have to fix my brakes. I need to spend $200 on an eye exam because I have a medication that may make me go blind. Yes, we have to pay for certain things in province of Ontario. Thanks, Doug Ford, for getting into a fight with optometrists. So they defunded the type of eye exam I need. Freaking awesome. For-profit healthcare. Yeah. But yeah, I just have to get the disposable income at some point to read them because everybody tells me they're absolutely wonderful. So, bit of feedback for you guys, because this is something that, we've been struggling with community. What's a way to celebrate the holidays with no money? Because we're coming into the American, Thanksgiving holiday season. Canada had our Thanksgiving back in October when sane people do it. But that's a joke. But how could you celebrate the holidays and feel like you're marking the occasion while spending no money? I am very curious with that. Um, I got through this really fast. I don't really feel the need to talk about more because a lot of the conversations I've had, people say, this is a video. There's at least 2 videos about Baldur's Gate 3 that the Discord has been saying, yeah, this is a video. Um, it's a huge game, and there's so many things that we could talk about. My TLDR brief, no spoiler review is that Act 1, way too much catering to the community. Certain things they were right about at first and then changed to keep the community happy had a knock-on effect with Act 2 and Act 3. Act 2 is almost entirely unnecessary. Hiding the actual main villains until halfway to the end of Act 2 because they didn't want to reveal it in early access, I think had a negative impact in a very bulky, bloated, messy, half-broken Act 3. That could have been, you could have gone from Act 1 to Act 3 and very little would have been lost except for one awesome character. But a lot of Act 2 to me feels very, very much like filler. And I think certain things that happen in Act 3 could have happened in Act 2, but I really do think the big problem is they pushed so much storytelling into Act 2 and 3 because they wanted to keep it a secret in early access to have some new stuff. So a lot of the stuff in Act 1 are really frustrating fake outs. A lot of the choices I agonized over turned out to be meaningless. A lot of the choices that I find kind of throwaways end up very important. Certain characters clearly got more attention than others. But again, I'm going to do these would be spoilers, and so I'm not doing it. But with all that being said, and as broken and messy and needs so much polish of Act 3, in my opinion, they really stick the landing. The endings are excellent. They're so good. They are so satisfying. In most cases. That I have to remember how frustrating the journey was for me. And I do think that the frustration threshold could be tamped way down with some pretty easy fixes. Some of it, no, it's a story pacing issue because of the early access model. I still don't like the early access model. The amount of money this game has made, Larian has no excuse to do that anymore. Release a full game. You're making AAA sales now, which means you're making AAA money. You are a AAA company. Same thing with From Software and Elden Ring. You have a breakaway hit like this, you no longer get oh, we're just small. They're not. But the endings are great. Except the ending has technical glitches. And the one character I don't actually find out what happened to. Well, there are multiple characters, but 2 of them are sort of not really origin characters. But the one origin character that had no epilogue for me was Shadowheart. And I don't know if that's a glitch or whether that's actually like there's just nothing there. And there is no better metaphor for my relationship with that character. She's the only one I never warmed to. She was a problem for me from start to finish, both as a drag on the story and she is full blown girlfriend mode. And that there were a bunch of things, and again, this will be in video. This is the no spoiler review. A bunch of things that really made me feel, and this is when people say, I felt attacked. I didn't feel attacked. I felt insulted. I was like, oh, come on. There is a real lack of understanding of a plurality of feminine experiences, and there were too many crutches of either they're really old or they're an honorary guy, and so we don't have to write a compelling woman character, because a woman who is not traditionally feminine is still a woman unless they do not identify as such. If you are assigned female at birth and stick with that designation, that matters. And again, no spoilers. That felt like a weakness throughout the entire game. There lacked an insider perspective. And characters like Karlach and characters like Lae'zel are informed more by the fact that they're warriors than women. And there's some wonderful Karlach moments. We needed more. There's great Lae'zel stuff. It's very... No, she's fairly spread out. Will, they didn't know what to do with. I felt like Gale, they missed. There was the right answer for Gale, and they missed it. He should have just been uber nerd, very excited about books from start to finish. The way they tried to make him cool and give him a connection to the greater Forgotten Realms mythos was a miss to me. It was too much. It made me hate him, but I warmed up to him. The way they juxtaposed the way they played off his first line with his last line in my ending, well fucking done. So good. The romances, disappointing as shit, not enough content, so much more they could have done. More Mass Effect than Dragon Age Origins in that sense. There just wasn't enough there. There were a lot of different places romances could go. The bulk of the meat of characters comes without them, which was disappointing to me because there was a lot of potential that didn't happen. There needs to be a greater romances mod. If somebody wanted to do a more interesting romances, like interesting NPCs for Fallout, interesting romances mod, I'd be willing to go in on that. Oh God, with what time? But I was like, there could have been more here. There could have been more here. And holy shit, why? Why wasn't there more? There could have been. There should have been. It would have not done because it would have just been additional character and additional dialogues. I didn't think they added much. And it just felt like, haha, everybody wants to screw me. That's not the purpose of one person falling in love with another person. That is an adventure in and of itself. And it feels very shallow when it's not that. But again, they really stick the landing. Really, really, really stick the landing. And it's very interesting to see the elements of the game that were censored in Japan for, in their mind, going too far. But I can talk about that later if you want. That's sort of it's a frustrating journey to get to the end. It felt like a lot of filler from the time you get out of Act 1 to getting to the end. The villains, they could have done so much more with them. It was clearly there in the development. It's just, again, hiding them in Act 1 meant we don't spend enough time with them for me. I saw the potential there and it didn't quite hit it. Um, the villains seem to be more delivery mechanisms to great moments for uh, the heroes. And it's too bad because one of them, and again, this is a spoiler, so I'm not going to, one of them was a truly great character that said something new while still hearkening back to Baldur's Gate 2. And it was somewhat squandered with not enough content. So, as you can see, I will be doing, this is one of those games that is very hard to give a numeric review to. And it's more of going in, a hint system would be kind of nice. They don't teach 5th edition rules very well. Map navigation is unnecessarily difficult. I don't like the stacked nav. I don't like the way the movement controls work. The pathfinding needs a lot of work. And there are certain strategy things that I would find very helpful if I were going through my first spin. But a lot of the seeming consequence I was expecting for some things I did never materialized. And so I felt toyed with at the end. And it could have been I just threaded the needle. But so many of the binary choices just felt designed to make me feel bad instead of make me defend the morality of my decision. And I cannot stand forcing you to feel through misery. It's too Last of Us 2 territory for me. It is so easy to make somebody feel bad. It is so easy to torture the player. It is much more difficult to make the player care and connect and invest. And definitely by Act 3, possibly halfway through Act 2, I was emotionally checked out in so many places because I felt so bludgeoned by the game. And I think developers need to worry less about making somebody struggle with the morality of their choices and more make people care about the people they're traveling with. But that means making them challenging. And the truly challenging characters get short shrift. So that's what Scout's saying. It's time to go. We're at a half hour now. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it, coffee.com/LeannaK. Or if you want to give to the men's group while I decide whether I'm going to change it, the GoFundMe, the money still goes because GoFundMe pays out as it goes. Yeah, thanks for watching and have a great weekend.